Call the council to order for tonight's meeting. We have a quorum present. Tonight will be led in prayer by Dick Boyd, the Reverend from First United Methodist Church here in Sioux Falls. After the invocation, we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Gracious Lord, I would ask that you anoint the leaders of our city, help them to be authentic leaders who put the needs of their city and the people of their city before any one individual or business, and keep them sensitive to the needs and dreams of those they govern, so that life will be enriched for the common good. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second, Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh seconded. Further comments? See no further comments. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Council members Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present voted. The consent agenda has been approved 8-0. Is there a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved, Jameson.
Jamison moved. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Brown seconds. Further comments? See no further comments. All in favor of approving the regular agenda, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Council members Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
All members present have voted. The regular agenda has been approved 8-0. This is a time that we set aside for anyone that wishes to address the council for a period of 5 minutes, and we just ask that you give your name and your address and come forward if you'd like to address the council at this time. Yeah, if you would like to, just give your name and address, and we'll try to keep track of the time for you.
I'm I.L. Weideman. Nice to be able to address you people for something I don't quite understand and nobody else has been able to explain to me. Live on North Dakota Avenue here in the city. This pertains to the city ordinance 4119D2. Also, it's identical to the SDCL 3228-4, which is the meaning of steady red light or stop signal, vehicular traffic, and right turn on red. The last sentence is where everybody's running into a dilemma. I will read that. This subsection permitting a right turn after a stop when facing a steady red light alone or stop signal shall not be effective if any local ordinance prohibits such turn, and the other key word is and, if any sign is erected at such intersection giving notice thereof. The two imperative words in that sentence are not and the word and. If you do not have both of them, you don't have a correct signage. In this instance, you do have the sign there, but you do not have an ordinance saying that you cannot turn after stopping on the red light. That's what I'd like to bring to the attention of the council.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Others that wish to address the council for a period of 5 minutes? Anyone else? I see no one coming forward at this time, so we'll move into the regular agenda. Item number 2.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing appropriations and the means of financing them for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2007.
Tom Huber with the City Finance Office. This is the appropriation ordinance appropriating the money for the budget that was adopted for the governmental funds in September. Total appropriation is $180,527,867.
Questions of Tom?
Yes, just a few technical questions, Tom. First of all, it says, see appropriations summary. The city clerk is directed to certify $35,104,133 of tax levies. And then it continues. I noticed this was raised by several $1,000s from the budget book that we had, that we were using with the, when we were dealing with the budget resolution. Do you know why it raised a little bit?
Can you explain exactly what number you're referring to?
Okay,
Do
in
you have
C.
a page there that you're on?
Yeah, on the ordinance here, C,
Yep.
the appropriation summary. The $35,104,133 for the property taxes.
That was probably due to those amendments that were passed that slightly increased that appropriation. Alicia, do you have any time? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, you're
Okay.
talking. Oh, that's the amount that was certified to us by the county. So the first number that you would have
Okay.
seen in here when we first started this process would have been our estimate. And this is what the county actually came back with. They certify after the mayor's already submitted his budget and we're well into the process.
Okay, so that's a certified number from
That's the
Okay.
number that the county comes back with for the actual certified levy.
Okay, and once again, this is just a technical question. You know, the way it reads, the city clerk is directed to certify that amount of tax levies in this ordinance to the Minnehaha and Lincoln County auditors. How come it's not broken down into how much the auditor from Minnehaha County will collect and how much the auditor from Lincoln County will collect? Is there... It would
I
seem
don't know that
like...
there's any specific reason, but this is the numbers that we would get from them, and we'll certify the appropriate amounts to each
Yeah,
county.
because, you know, when we're voting on this, I don't know how much is going to be collected by the Lincoln County auditor, and I don't know how much is going to be collected by the Minnehaha County auditor.
We could certainly get those numbers for you. By
Yeah.
how much is going to be collected by each respective entity. The amount is set by, again, you get the CPI adjustment as well as what the growth in the base.
Further questions? Others address the council on item number 2. Council discussion or action on item number 2.
Move for approval, Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh moves. Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconded. Further comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have an amendment to reduce the figure in Section C, the appropriation summary. This deals with the property taxes that will be collected, to reduce it by $1 million, that being the property tax increase for next year. So it would read $34,104,133, thereby eliminating the property tax increase.
Is there a second? That dies for lack of a second. We're back to the motion's been made and seconded to approve item number 2. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of approving item 2 will vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Council members Jameson,
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Knudsen,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Benega,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
All members present have voted. Item 2 has been approved 8-0. Item number 3.
Deferred action, a resolution vacating West 22nd Street from South Ellis Road to 457 feet east, proposed South Wheatland Avenue.
Shannon Austin with the Sioux Falls City Engineering Office. We received this petition to vacate 22nd Street from T. Ellis Road approximately about 400 feet to the east in June. There was a neighborhood meeting, and there were a couple of issues that had come up from the school district as well as surrounding neighbors that the petitioner has worked through the last couple of months and has gotten to an agreement with the school district, the city of Sioux Falls, and then come to a resolution that he hopes is acceptable to the city council. This particular portion of 22nd Street was originally approved to be vacated as part of the subdivision plan. 22nd Street was not going to intersect the T. Ellis Road because originally, in the early 2000s, the T. Ellis Road was going to be the west corridor, and we did not want quarter-mile access points, we were restricting access along the TLS road. Since then, we have proceeded into the environmental assessment on the west corridor. The environmental assessment has moved the alignment a quarter-mile to the west. So that basically reduces the TLS road back just to a regular arterial street, leaving the access points at a quarter-mile. In this particular case, though, when the TLS road is no longer the west corridor, we gave the option back to the petitioner to either have West 22nd Street or have his subdivision plan be amended to have 22nd Street intersect the TLS road or not. The petitioner basically said their wishes were not to have 22nd Street intersect the TLS road. The city supported that because, again, it was originally adopted by the city of Sioux Falls as part of the original subdivision plan. Since they originally petitioned for the right-of-way to be vacated, like I said earlier, they had been working with the school district and the city to come to an agreement. And we had sent out the agreement to the council, I believe it was yesterday, and hopefully you've had a chance to briefly take a look at it. But if the city council should choose to vacate the street, there'll be kind of a sequence of events that will happen between now and the next year and a half. And I'll kind of walk you through those real quick. If the city council approves the street vacation tonight, the petitioner will maintain an existing right-of-way easement on that section of 22nd Street until such time as Wheatland, and Wheatland goes north and south from Stony Creek is up here on the north side down to 26th Street. Until such time that Wheatland is constructed up to Stony Creek and then over to TLS Road, or such time that Wheatland is constructed down to 26th Street. As soon as that portion of street is constructed, then this portion of 22nd Street will be blocked off, per se. We'll have barricades on at both ends, and the petitioner will basically give the H-plots to the city attorney's office to hold until the actual street vacation is actually final. After Wheatland is constructed and we close off 22nd Street, we will close the street for a period of 1 year, basically then to allow the school district as well as the citizens to get used to using Stony Creek, Wheatland, and or 26th Street. After the expiration of 1 year and the closure of 22nd Street, any interested party then can come back to the city council or city engineering office and basically petition to reopen 22nd Street. So basically, if they decide after that 1 year period that they still cannot live without 22nd Street, there's still an avenue to rededicate the street. At that time, then the H-plat would be returned to the city engineering office, and we basically would replat that H-lot or that street right of way. If no petition is received during that 6-month period, then the right-of-way will be vacated and the H-plat returned to the petitioner. So this is an agreement that was worked out between the city, the petitioner, and the school district. We felt it was acceptable to the parties that were certainly concerned about the street being vacated. So tonight, with the city's consideration, you would be voting to vacate the street and then, in a sense, giving permission to the mayor to actually sign the agreement. The actual street as it exists today is a gravel road. Our recent count was over the summer months, which is about 150 vehicles a day. It is considered to the east of Wheatland to be a collector street and goes to Sertoma and 22nd, which is a signalized crossing, a pedestrian crossing for both elementary and middle school. As I said, there was a public meeting held on July 7th. And again, the elementary or school district was certainly well in attendance, and there were 2 other surrounding property owners that I believe are here to answer any questions or voice their opinion to the city council. With all of the issues, the city feels that this is a reasonable accommodation to allow this street to be vacated, and the city engineering office is recommending approval on the street vacation.
Questions of Shannon?
I have 2 questions here. Number one.
I got Kevin first.
Oh, I'm
Excuse me.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Shannon, our original position was that it could be vacated because TLS was the west side corridor. What if we, and I understand this is a hypothetical, What if we had never had designated TLS as the West Side Corridor?
This would be the quarter mile collector street.
Okay, and that's my concern. Since it is not a West Side Corridor anymore, why are we giving up a quarter mile collector street? It just seems, and I understand right now it's a gravel road, there's no development out there, but as that area develops, primarily residential, it's going to be feeding that school, 2 schools. I'm not sure why we should give up this right-of-way. It seems to me that giving it up for a year and asking if people missed it is really not the point. We should see if people use it first before we give it up.
Well, again, the preliminary subdivision plan was approved by the city council in 2001, and that did not show the street right-of-way being there. So in a sense, we've already approved on paper that street being gone.
I understand that, but that was based upon a plan that changed.
Correct.
And again, had we not designated TLS as a portion of the West Side Corridor, we would never have designated that as a vacated street. That's what you're saying.
Further questions? Councilmember Litz.
Oh, yeah. I have several questions here. What is an H plot?
An H plat is public it's a right-of-way plat that's for public use.
What does the H stand for? Is it just a letter
Highway.
designation? Very
Highway.
good. Then this was going to be temporarily paved until it was vacated? Was that?
No, it'll remain as a gravel road.
I see.
In the meantime, between Wheatland and Stony Brook gets paved. That's the portion that I was talking about gets paved. When
Okay.
Wheatland
Okay, I understood. Is that the land that's between the TLS Road and Wheatland, all that area, is that zone commercial, or what is that for?
I'd have to refer to the petitioner on that. I do not know
Okay.
the current zoning.
Okay, Chuck's nodding yes. I think if that road went out of there, wouldn't that slow a lot of things down along that street there as we grow out of, as the city grows out that way?
Slow.
Is that, well, it's slowing traffic down. Obviously, if you've got to come in from different directions to get to the school, there's going to be a lot of traffic around there and have to go slower than rather if you had a straight shot. Is that the rationale behind the city, or was the rationale because originally you told them it was going to be like that and they have plans for the land as it is?
Correct. We approved the subdivision plan without that street being there. Houses, I'm assuming, were sold showing that subdivision plan being approved at that street not going through. So in essence, property owners, I guess, would probably believe that that street was not going to go through, even though it exists going through today.
I see. Very good. Thank you.
How far east does 22nd Street go? I can't tell on this map.
Basically, the through movement just goes right to Sertoma.
To where?
Sertoma. I'm sorry, you're talking on the east or west?
So then you go east of that. What is there east of?
And then it basically goes, it turns into, I do not believe it goes out, it does not go all the way down to Marion Road. It
Okay.
basically dead ends about half mile, quarter mile to the east.
And following up on what Kevin was asking, what is the rationale for vacating that street when it is at the quarter section line? And then if you look at the street to the south, it appears we did not put a quarter section line through there either.
That is correct.
Was that platting predicated on that bypass being on the TLS Road?
Correct. A lot of these developments came through at the same time, mainly due to the fact that we were looking at the west corridor, and then, of course, the development was pushing us to consider the corridor sooner than versus later. We had every intention of having the TLS Road as the west corridor, and we wanted to protect that right away and those access points, which is certainly why we did not allow this access point to the quarter mile to the south of 26th Street.
Then are we not creating a problem for any development? If the commercial is to the west, it's logical that there's going to be commercial to the west of these developments, especially in this area that I believe will be along that corridor, whatever that corridor will be. There will be commercial on the intersections at that corridor, on the 1 mile lines.
At 26th Street, correct.
So access to and from those 1 mile areas will be limited if we do not have some of these quarter miler collectors.
And we do have Stony Creek, which is at the half mile, and then also 32nd Street down off, which is again at the half mile. We do have the half mile collectors that basically came in after the west corridor was shifted off of the alignment. So, or I guess, excuse me, I is incorrect. Stony Creek actually came through before we were looking at the west corridor to be on the TLS road. So Stony Creek was approved before the west corridor. 22nd Street was approved during the west corridor. There are other quarter mile access points aside from this one.
But these neighbors will have to go north or south to get out of this development, same
Correct.
as the ones to the south.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Not others wish to address the council on item number 3.
Good evening. I'm Chuck Point with Ronning Enterprises, 4401 East 6th Street. This is the developments on both sides of 22nd Street at that point are our developments, and we're the ones that are petitioning you to vacate it. As Shannon said, both development plans were approved showing 22nd Street being vacated. The community was given the same notice they're giving at every development plan of the time to come and testify about development plans. These plans were approved without 22nd Street connecting to the TLS Road. I wish that your planning director were here tonight to explain it to you all as he did to myself and the staff of the school district. One of the most important considerations is that you have scheduled 26th Street and what I call 18th Street, but is called Stony Creek Street, to be the controlled intersections with stoplights. That is where you want to direct the traffic onto a major road like this, the TLS Road. The fact that it just isn't going to be the west side corridor is not the only issue at hand here. The traffic plans of the city of Sioux Falls call for minor collectors like 22nd Street, and I wish your assistant city engineer, Mr. Berkland, was here to explain this to you because he does a lot better job of it than I can do, that we don't want them to become arterial streets. We don't want 22nd Street to carry the traffic that it should be carried on 26th Street. The fact that this gravel road is there today is a fluke of farm ownership, not of planning. It would never have been there if 26th Street would have been there. 26th Street is now built. There was never a gravel road at 26th Street. It is now built. You've paid for it. It's a 5-lane road, and it someday will have a stoplight at the TLS Road to control traffic. It would be, in my mind, and in a lot of people's minds, dangerous for school traffic to start trying to use that as the arterial to enter and exit off of the TLS Road. You will create a traffic problem, and then people will come back to you and say, now put a stoplight at 22nd Street. You are already behind on the construction of stoplights in this city. They cost you between $125,000 and $150,000. You can't keep up with the construction of them as it is. You don't need more places to put them to cause more problems, to solve more problems that you can avoid by good traffic planning that your staff has already done. The question was asked by one council person about zoning, and the zoning up, there's only one spot that is zoned commercial, the red button, and it's these two little squares right at 26th Street. The rest of this is not zoned commercial, and more than likely will be built as residential. It does carry a zoning now for office and multifamily, but The amount of that gets used in the city as opposed to residential is minor, and it's basically a zoning request we come up with in case the demand changes in the world. But if you had to ask me what do I predict being built there, I believe it'll be residential, probably something like twin homes or townhomes on most of that land. In fact, we had a meeting today with a twin home, townhome developer on the parcel that is north of 22nd Street going up to this property line here that is just south of Stony Creek Street. So it's not commercial. The commercial is only at the corner of 26th Street, and that's where the land use plan calls for it to be. Again, I want to emphasize to you, this was possibly going to be the West Side Corridor. Nobody ever knew that it was going to be. It was only a possible location. The city came to us and for two reasons, which were not emphasized earlier, asked us to work with them not to connect 22nd Street to the T. Ellis Road. The first one was, if it did end up being the West Side Corridor, they very definitely didn't want it. But also remember, your traffic plan calls for minor collectors not to become arterial streets. And when they do, your traffic plan is defeated. Your traffic engineering plan is defeated, and then you have to deal with minor collectors being arterials. People start calling the police department and the engineering department, traffic is going too fast on my street. Think of conversations you've had with the people that live on Tomar Road, for instance. That's what 22nd Street is. That vacation will prevent that traffic from ever doing that. We've given you the best of both worlds. We've given you a street situation that follows your plan, and because the school district said, we're worried about this, we've come to you with a backup plan that says, if you decide a year later, or within 6 months after a year later, you've got the plat in your pocket that you can go out and rededicate it and rebuild 22nd Street. So you have the best of both worlds. And finally, we did hold a public meeting that was at first probably not very productive, but became very productive. There was only one person from the other than school district people there. Mr. Boyd's here tonight, and I'm sure he's going to testify that he doesn't want the street vacated. He wants all streets to interconnect. Unfortunately, as a city, you've adopted a city traffic engineering plan that calls for streets not to do that. And you've come to people like Ronning Enterprises in places like 49th Street, at Judy Avenue, and many other places and said, we do not want these collector streets to become through streets. You've asked us to do that. We have been a team player, and when you've asked us to do that, we've responded and said, we'll cooperate. We did it here. We did it at 49th and Judy. We've done it in other places. We've done it south there in our Roosevelt Park edition. We've been a team player with your staff and with your traffic engineering plan. And what we're asking you to do tonight is to help follow that plan and vacate this street and lose nothing in the process, because when you vacate it, you've got the H-plat or the right to rededicate it in your other hand. And you have nothing to lose. I know that Mr. Boyd and other people may stand up and say, well, we need all the streets to connect. I've heard that. My boss, Dwayne Ronning, the first time this happened to us at 49th and Judy, said, no, you go down to the city, Chuck, and tell them, I don't like their new traffic engineering plan. And I did, and they said, no, we're going ahead with it, Chuck. This is what we're going to do. And we cooperated with the city of Sioux Falls. We've cooperated with your traffic engineering plan to not have minor collector streets become arterial streets so that they give you problems later. And what we're asking you to do tonight is follow your own traffic engineering plan and vacate this street. And I'll answer any other questions that you have.
Questions, Kermit?
Yeah, you mentioned that you didn't like originally the city traffic plan. You didn't like it at all.
Right. No, I didn't say I didn't. I said Dwayne Ronning didn't.
What is the situation today?
We're team players. We're here. We participate, we testify, we go to meetings of the Infrastructure Review Board and other meetings, and we tell people our opinion. Sometimes our opinions are the ones that are adopted, and sometimes they're not. And then we go forward from there, and we're team players. We believe that the city has to adopt the policies that this city gets developed by. And after you adopt them, we follow them.
Further questions of Chuck? No, thank you very much, Chuck. Appreciate your time. Others that wish to address the council on item number 3?
Don Boyd, 1309 South Larkspur Trail. I represent Pine Knoll Inc., and we have the property to the, I don't know how you use this thing. I have about 20 acres right there, just to the west of the intersection that's trying to be vacated. As a landowner and concerned citizen, I am against vacating this portion of the street. It does not serve the public interest by closing it. As far as I know, I'm sorry, this may be a little repetitious. I couldn't hear Shannon. I know she said some of this, but as far as I know, the idea of vacating 22nd and the T. Ellis intersection only came up because of the east-west road corridor study. The engineers wanted to limit the access across the corridor road, which have been at 22nd and the Ellis Road. Probably made sense then, but with the east-west corridor going farther west, there is no good reason to close this intersection. Why close this street when it leads directly to the 2 schools to the east? It would seem that the schools need all the good access they could have. This would be the most direct east-west route to the north side of the schools. Also, what about construction? You're all aware of what a disaster the west side of Sioux Falls is for good detour streets when we have this road construction going on. Imagine when 26th Street is going to be rebuilt. This would be a good road for a detour in the summertime. And what about the fire and police protection? That would be one of the most direct access routes coming down south on the T. Ellis Road to get into that area. I would ask the council members to reject this motion and keep the road open. It gets very expensive to retrieve right away. Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, let's see, 6 months after this is in effect, you can petition to have it back again?
Yes.
Are you going to do that if this would pass?
Yes, I am.
How many?
I disagree with the city. And Chuck had told me this is not the forum to do it at the meeting we were at, and it's not the forum obviously down here either. But I do not agree with the city's how they move traffic around. Your arterial streets and all this stuff. You've got a nice, good street in there someday. When that all gets filled in out there, there's going to be a lot of people out there, and they're going to like to use that road. It's a little easier now to come and ask for a vacation when nobody lives there. I don't have any idea what it'll do to the value of my property, probably not any, by closing that intersection. But I'm here more as a concerned citizen. I don't like this idea. Excuse me, I interrupted.
Further questions?
I have a question for Gary. Who can submit a petition then to have that returned back to the city in a?
Under the agreement, any concerned citizen.
So if a petition gets filed, then it automatically, the city will?
Then it comes back before the council, and the council will determine whether you wish to reopen it.
And then who eventually has to pay for that road then?
There'll be no payment for the road. The HLAT will be delivered free of charge, the agreement provides.
But then somebody will have to improve the road, won't they?
The city would have to improve the road. It will be a city street.
Whereas if we do not approve it, will there be a road there now?
There is a gravel road there now, and that will remain until the final action by the council, which will be a year and a half after the completion of either one of the two streets.
I also have a question for Shannon or Mark, maybe. What Chuck says about the traffic, the volume of traffic makes a lot of sense, because the first thing I looked at it was that, someday that's going to, a lot of kids are going to be driving to school down that road. But is that not what our intent is to do, is to control the traffic on the half miles and the mile lines?
On all of our collector streets, we typically break them at arterial streets. For instance, in this case, if 22nd Street would extend probably another quarter mile to the west, and then it extends about a quarter mile to the east of Sertoma, our typical minor collectors are usually between a mile and a mile and a half long, which this is approximately a typical length for minor collector. Your major collectors are going to extend a little bit more, between maybe 1 mile and 2 miles, and then we break them so it's to offset the intersections, or like Mr. Point was referring to, basically put a obstacle in front, like on 49th Street on the east side of the city, so people can't drive through, so they don't use them as thoroughfares. Typical volumes on minor collectors are anywhere from about 1,500 to a 2,000 cars per day. On major collectors, you're looking at 2,000 to maybe be 3,000, 4,000 cars a day. A major collector in this area, Stony Creek is a major collector. On the east side, Bonson Avenue is a major collector. Bonson's not a really good example because it extends from 57th Street all the way to 12th Street, which was something that we don't want to do. We don't want to continue that practice, which is quite a lengthy collector. But Mr. Point is absolutely right. We do break those collector streets to limit traffic on them.
So he's concerned that if that road is built, that there'll be too much traffic on it. And is that your concern, or is that not a concern from your point?
It certainly is a concern when you do have traffic in front of middle school and a elementary school. We do see that a lot of local traffic uses the collector streets to get to and from schools. In this particular case, because we do have a signal at 26th Street and Sertoma, or 26th and Discovery, and then also 22nd and Sertoma. Those are very good access roads to get into and out of both school sites.
Kevin?
I just want to be clear. You said earlier that you're concerned about that your reason for showing this street being vacated was because it was designated, T. Ellis was designated as the West Side Corridor.
It was not designated. We were looking at it as our primary option.
It was potential, yes. There was no discussion about collectors, arterials. My question is this. You've got a street that already ends just past Sertoma. You've already said that. And it will end at the West Side Corridor, which you say is probably only a quarter of a mile past T. Ellis.
Correct.
So how does it get to be so important? What is the significance of closing this short section of street?
Because we had approved the preliminary subdivision plan. And, I guess another important factor to consider is years ago, probably in the early 1990s, Minnehaha County actually vacated 26th Street right-of-way from the T. Ellis Road to the west. So the only designated right-of-way that existed out in this area was 22nd Street, which is certainly why we had that gravel section of 22nd Street, because the 26th Street was vacated. So it kind of opens up, there's a whole another discussion regarding 26th Street as a minor arterial being rededicated as a minor arterial versus 22nd Street as a minor collector. There was a lot of unanswered questions back in the late 1990s regarding the street network because of the vacated 26th Street.
Are you saying that 26th Street will not extend past T. Ellis Road?
It wasn't proposed to because Minnehaha County actually vacated the right-of-way to the west of Sertoma, or excuse me, to the T. Ellis Road. So we had to work with the developers. Basically, either we actually had tried to purchase the land to rededicate the right-of-way, but then also, then in the meantime, then a developer had purchased the property and rededicated 26th Street.
Bob Litz was next.
Yes, Shannon, I was looking off of West Stony Creek Road. See Lot 13, it looks kind of like a chevron. It's sort of I can't tell what block it is, but Lot 13. There's Lot 16, 13, and 23 altogether. Funny looking ones, yeah. Is Lot 13, is that an actual buildable lot up there?
I believe that's a drainage way.
A drainage way, so that is not a road going down between there, that is a drainage way, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Shannon, is there a real urgency to this getting done tonight?
I'll have to refer that to the petitioner.
Councilperson, no, there's no urgency for it to be done tonight. We're happy to come back a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. We're developing from the east going west. We're not close to this area. We've had meetings with the neighborhood. We think that we understand what the issues are. There was nobody that lives in the neighborhood that came and objected to this. There's been, as far as I can hear from any city employee, no one has ever called and objected to our plans. We have met extensively with your staff and with the staff of the school district to work out what I believe to be were issues for the school district of coming and going at the middle school and the elementary school. The memorandum of understanding that you have is proof that we worked with your staff and their staff to work out what I believe to be the best of all possible worlds. You can vacate the street, and a year and a half after we're not using it, you're in exactly the same position that you are tonight, only you have the proof that the middle school principal and I discovered, and that is, if you build the road, you can never get rid of it. You will pay, as Councilperson Staggers is always concerned about, forever to maintain that road and rebuild it. But if you choose to vacate it and then allow us to prove that it isn't needed because we're giving you two better ways out that connect to lighted intersections, you won't have to pay to maintain it forever. But if for any reason you decide, as I believe Councilman Kavanaugh just said, you decide that you want it back, you've got it. It's in escrow, you've got it. All you have to do is meet again and vote to rededicate that right away. I am at a loss to understand how you can pass that deal up. No one has ever offered, in the 23 years that I've worked for Ronning Enterprises, no one has ever offered the city that good a deal. Somebody just said, well, right-of-ways can get expensive. This one is free. We're not charging you 1 penny for the right to a year and a half after it's gone to rededicate. Not 1 cent you're not being charged. Have I answered your question?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I would move to defer this for 1 month and have the Land Use Committee review it. I'll leave it at that, and then I'll discuss from there.
What's the date you're referring to? What month?
The second Monday in November, probably.
What's the date of that?
Well, Vernon, I can't leave you hanging. I'd second that since I'm the chair of the Land Use Committee.
So your motion is defer 1 month to November 13th for item number 3. Further questions?
If I could, maybe Shannon or Mark or somebody, what is the city's policy on arterials, minor arterials, collectors, minor collectors, and how often is it desirable to have those intersect?
2 points that I want to make from our department, and then I'll let Shannon talk to the classification. Essentially here is the subdivision plan came in 2001, and it was an action that we took, and that's why we're carrying it through. Obviously, this sounds like it's different than normal. But know that the way we carried that out is one of the biggest property owners out there that gets traffic here is the school system, and so they were a big part of the planning of this, and that's why you have the option in front of you. The second thing is on cost. If this street does go in, this is the part Mr. Point probably doesn't want me to say, but Since this is a collector street, the benefited property owner does pay for it, and so that extension of 22nd Street would go in at the benefited property's cost. I'll let Shannon speak to the classification.
According to the engineering design standards, the first quarter-mile point is the minor collector, which has 66 feet of right-of-way. The mid halfway quarter-mile point is the major collector, which is 80 feet of right-of-way. And then the three-quarter point is another minor collector. So we go arterial, minor collector, major collector, minor collector, arterial.
And what will TLS Road become? A major arterial, or?
It currently, right now, on our functional classification map, is a minor arterial.
And on minor arterials, how often do you want roads, minors, or whatever intersecting that?
It becomes, you basically look at the surrounding development and the subdivisions coming in around it. As I said earlier, you of course don't want them to, minor collectors, to extend too far on one side of the arterial, but at the same time, you do need to get that local traffic out to a minor collector to get to the arterial. The hierarchy of the streets is local street, collector street, arterial street, interstate.
And in this case, it would appear that 22nd Street is about a 2-mile length from, or will be if it goes to the east-west corridor out there?
Yeah, it's probably between, probably a mile and a half, I suppose, right around a mile and a half, right at our limits of how long minor collectors should be.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask Shannon. It's been mentioned that this is city policy. You know, has the city council formally voted on the planning of the policy for streets, or is that something that's done internally?
Yes, you have. The city council adopts our engineering design standards, updates every year. Also, the UDC, which I believe you are a member on, also votes on the functional classification map and major street plan every year. So you do see all of these documents before you.
So all the principles that you've been talking about tonight, that has been, I know we vote on, you know, an ongoing basis on these, but the basic principles were established
in the engineering design standards. And those, that is adopted by the city council.
So Chuck Point was talking about, you know, a number of years ago when they first encountered this. Is this when how long ago was that? When did we start this?
Start what?
Well, I mean, you take a look at Central Sioux Falls, and, you know, we have all the rectangular blocks and the streets going across. This policy here with subdivisions and
I believe the quarter-mile access points came into place between 1995 and 2000.
Okay.
Got a motion for us to defer item number 3 for 1 month, November to November 13th. Further questions?
I've got some more questions, if that's all right.
Okay.
Shannon, I just want to make sure. Okay, so we have the right of way right now.
Correct.
Okay, and not having the west side corridor coming through, we would have had this road put there, this minor collector.
It was existing right-of-way.
And had there never been a discussion of a west side corridor, it would have been on the plan.
It would have been unless the developer would have come forward with the same petition to vacate the right-of-way.
Okay, and we don't think if the road was going in there, the minor collectors are only a mile and a half long, and we obviously didn't think there would be a problem with traffic with that length of a road.
Yes, I think if I understand your
question. And then what were the school district's comments regarding?
The main comment from the school district, and I certainly will, I wasn't part of those negotiations, but I know their bus traffic was one of their biggest concerns. 22nd Street is their major bus route to get folks for the drop-off, and I certainly would refer to Mr. Point for that because he was more directly involved with those school negotiations. But that was one of their main concerns.
So this is for Shannon, if 22nd Street is one of their major bus routes, I'm not sure why they have agreed to this experiment.
Because if it doesn't work, like Mark said, they can come back and rededicate.
I understand that, but There is no housing out there, there's no kids to pick up, and there won't be until after this is all said and done, until this is all lapsed.
Well, they already have, they bus students already to both sites. They typically, the school district does not allow children to cross minor arterials, so there wouldn't be a crossing, they're telling us right now, across the TLS road. So they would bus those kids from the west side of TLS. Plus, they're busing them right now going down the TLS road to 26th and 22nd Street.
During the time that this is, during the 1 year, will the school district be allowed to use this gravel road as a bus route?
They do currently until Wheatland is constructed up to Stony Brook or Wheatland down to 26th Street. Then those two paved routes will be the bus route.
So the answer is no.
Correct. Correct.
Further questions? We've got a motion before us. Vernon?
I just wanted to comment to the motion that, this isn't a reflection on Mr. Point or Ronning Enterprises, but I think that obviously there are enough questions up here that it's not settled in our mind, and we may very well end up where Mr. Point is asking us to do, but we've been burned on occasion on vacations, and I think that's why it's important that the Land Use Committee just take a look at it and make sure that we're on the right track with this. So I'd encourage your support for this deferral.
I had one more question for the city. If Wheatland Avenue, as it curves around and connects to 26th Street, if it went straight south and connected straight up without going on the curve, is that too close to the TLS Road off of 26th Street?
I'm sorry, could you read?
If you were to run Wheatland straight down, not just go straight along there, is that a possibility? Or is there too many accesses on 26th Street too close to the TLS Road that way?
It's certainly something to be looked at, and Mr. Point just corrected, it's Monticello Avenue, not Wheatland, going to the south of 22nd
Oh, is that right?
Street. So
It's Wheatland on the other side of 22nd.
correct, going north.
Further questions? Can everybody understand the motion to defer item number 3 until November 13th? That's the motion before us. All in favor of that motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmember Jameson?
Yes.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Knutson?
No.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Benega?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
That motion passes. Item 3 will be deferred until November 13th. Item number 4.
A resolution vacating North Louise Avenue from Benson Road to 740 feet south and North Markey Avenue from Louise Avenue to 31 feet south as shown on attached exhibit.
This is a street vacation that is in the northwest part of the city. We have Interstate 29 and Benson Road. This development is recently been very busy with a lot of development and commercial and industrial growth on the south side of Benson Road. The yellow line that you see in your exhibit is the existing improved right-of-way on Louise Avenue. The petitioner has gotten some new interest and is moving forward with a site plan that actually would construct a road over Louise Avenue, which would cause Louise and Markey to be realigned. As I said, the Louise Avenue actually is an improved street and will be vacated, and then the petitioner will incur the cost to repave and rededicate Louise Avenue and Markey Avenue. This is a street vacation of right-of-way and utility easements. There was a public meeting on July 5th, very low attendance, but there were no opposing neighbors. We do have a letter of support from the neighbor on the north side of Benson Road. There's a large developer to the north that is in support of this realignment of Louise Avenue. Also, the Department of Transportation is in support of this realignment as it gets this intersection back away from the intersection and allows for better spacing if and when the signal does get installed along Louise and Benson Road. All of the agencies, all of the city agencies have reviewed planning, engineering, fire, and have given no comment or no opposition to this street vacation, and engineering is recommending approval of the street vacation. And the petitioner is here to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, Shannon? Bob?
Just for clarification, the relocation costs will be borne by the petitioner?
That is correct.
Okay.
Further questions, Shannon? Others wish to address the council on item number 4. Council discussion or action?
Motion to approve, Costello.
Costello moves.
I
Knutson
second that
seconded.
motion. Knutson.
Further comments? Seeing no further comments, all in favor will vote yes, those opposed vote no.
Council members Jamison,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Benega,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
Item number 4 has been approved 8-0. Item number 5.
A resolution vacating South Anthony Avenue from north property line of Lot 12, Block 1, Troyville addition to southwest property corner.
This petition to vacate platted right-of-way is off of the southern edge of town. Here's 57th Street on the north edge and Sundowner Avenue in this portion in the southwest corner of 57th and Sundowner. This particular area was discussed when the area off of Gazino Place was annexed by the planning office a few years back. The street was certainly a topic of discussion from Anthony Avenue, which intersects 57th Street. Currently, right now, the plan was to bring Anthony Avenue down through basically the petitioner's property and then to the southern edge off of Southern Development to the south. There is a large grade difference in this area, which is certainly one of the reasons why the petitioner would like to vacate this right-of-way. He did have a public meeting, or excuse me, there was no public meeting, but there were a lot of issues that needed to be addressed if this street was vacated. And we had asked him for a subdivision plan and basically his plan on how to close off, put a cul-de-sac on both ends of the street and work with the adjacent landowners to cover those costs. He called, or he notified us last week and basically said he has not resolved all the issues with the surrounding neighbors yet and asks us to defer until the second meeting in November, which would be November 13th.
Is that until November 13th?
Yes.
Moves to defer November 13th.
Jamison moved. Is there a second?
Second, Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh seconded. Further discussion? Not all in favor of deferring item number 5 until November 13th. Vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Council members Jamison,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Benega,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
Item 5 has been deferred until November 13th, 8-0. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Brown moved. Is there a second?
Second, Costello.
Costello seconded. Further comments? No further comments. All in favor of adjournment? Vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Council members Jamison,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Benega,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
Well, this lasted longer than I thought it was going to. Yeah. We thought it'd be over by 7:30. Oh, let me get you a pin. By 7:30 or so. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. You're disappointed, aren't you? Wow, this is an easy one to get through. Hey, see you tomorrow. Yeah. You gonna tell ya? How you doing tonight? Oh, pretty good, thanks.